Welcome back to our two-part series where we focus on opportunities for industrial companies in the coming year. We're here to talk about 2024 and what industrial companies like distributors can do to leverage the variables that they face. In part one of this video, we heard from experts on what the industrial economy looks like now and what we can expect for the remainder of the year, as well as big areas of focus for key distributors. Before we get started, I want to thank our sponsors, BigCommerce and Epicor, for their support of this, and of course, our loyal audience for tuning in. Today, I want to take a deeper dive into some specific areas that we know industrial companies are struggling with and what they can and should be doing to navigate challenges in the coming year. And one of those I'd like to start with is revenue growth. We know that many distributors spent 2022 and 2023 enjoying double-digit growth and are now seeing that temper a bit. As it slows down, what can distributors do to maintain stability? Well, we spoke with John Gunderson, Channel Sales and Marketing Strategy for Dorn Group, on this topic, and here's what he had to say.
I think it's just a continuation of what a lot of people have been doing. I think like anything else, when things tighten up, you've got to become potentially more important to fewer partners. So you got to look at really, what can I do to grow with my most important suppliers in each product category, my strategic partners? And then what might I be able to do with my next level, my preferred partners? So right now you got a lot of distributors playing the latter game. How do I become very important to, 3M this year, right? Because that maximizes my rebate dollars and my incentives, but it also allows them to devote more resources to me as a distributor if I'm trying to grow. So on both sides of the aisle, people are really trying to get more important to fewer partners.
Adding to this discussion is Justin Roff-Marsh, the founder of Ballistix, a company that applies sales process engineering methods to help businesses improve their objectives, increase growth, and streamline their operations. Justin and his team just released a documentary titled Double-Digit Sales Growth, and he had some insight into how distributors should manage their strategic priorities. Justin talks about not just key areas of focus for sustaining the growth levels distributors have come to expect, but also how to target new opportunities while taking advantage of the toll some of these variables are taking on their competition.
I think that if we go through a softer economy, it's a good opportunity for industrial organizations to consider that maybe they've gotten a little soft internally where growth is concerned. I have concern for a lot of organizations that we work with that they're not as aggressive as they could or should be where growth is concerned. And in some cases, I think this is a consequence of organizational design problems. I would advocate that the growth of an organization is complete. It needs to be, or whichever part of the organization is responsible for growth needs to be completely decoupled from the part of the organization that's responsible for generating revenue and paying bills and the normal business as usual, you might call it. And I think in a lot of organizations we work with, these things aren't decoupled. The same folks who are responsible for business as usual are also expected to be driving growth, and that just doesn't happen. So I think that if we go into a softer market, that's the first thing that I would check to make sure that the growth engine is completely decoupled from the business as usual engine. And then that enables you to pay some attention to the design of the growth engine. And once you've decoupled it and you can look at it there in a separate room, completely quarantined from business as usual, what you're probably going to conclude is it's not that well designed because it was never intended to operate independently. And the common problems, I think, are a lack of sales activity. And by sales activity, I don't mean taking existing customers to lunch. I mean hunting for brand new business, new accounts and new categories of business from existing accounts. That's probably the most obvious problem. The less obvious but probably more important problem is a lack of compelling propositions. If your product or service offering looks remarkably like that of your competitors and is differentiated only by the fact that you have slightly nicer operators or you answer the phone on the third ring instead of the fourth ring, then you probably don't have a compelling proposition. I think everyone in industrial sales has witnessed the havoc that was caused in the marketplace to everyone other than Granger and Fastenal by the introduction of VMI. That was a perfect example of a truly compelling proposition. And I think that there's a requirement for more of them. And I think that not having a separate growth engine has enabled executives to fail to recognize that, hey, we don't have compelling propositions. If you have a compelling proposition, not only does it supercharge the effectiveness of your sales department, but it also puts you in a position where you can be more aggressive about acquisitions. For a bunch of reasons. You have a more compelling story to tell to the companies you're looking to acquire. Remembering that in many cases you're competing against private equity, who only have a financial tale to tell. They don't necessarily have a story of significantly better fundamentals. It also means that you're perhaps prepared to pay a higher multiple for acquisitions if you're plugging them into a more efficient model. So you get numerous benefits. So yeah, be more aggressive about growth, decouple the growth engine from the business as usual engine, ensure that the folks who are responsible for growth are dedicated entirely to the pursuit of new business, completely undistracted from anything else. Ensure that your propositions are compelling, and once you're confident that they are, be more aggressive about acquisitions. Take advantage of the fact that your competitors are hurting.
Another key area we see distributors eyeing in 2024 is one that's been driving investments over the past several years, and that is the need for digital transformation in order for companies to streamline and support online sales growth, as well as gain access to valuable data. Brendan Breen, president of the Industrial Supply Association, is here with more on that.
You've got to make sure you're positioning yourself both in an e-commerce perspective, but also in a marketing perspective. You need to appear in different places. You need to explore omnichannel. And that doesn't mean you need to have, a massive budget line item for this either. There are ways that you can have turnkey omnichannel experiences that can put your brand and put your self in front of the eyeballs of end users in different ways. So that digital journey also kind of leads you into the exploration of AI. And these tools used to be really far out of reach or much more complex. Now with the generative AI movement, and general more just adoption of AI tools, they are more accessible to smaller companies. They are more accessible and easier to set up and use and have fully functioning in a shorter amount of time. And so what that means is it's becoming much more ubiquitous. Everybody is now able to access this AI game, and it's not just for the big guys. So we're seeing new tech advancements, new companies coming to ISA to get in front of our members with their new solutions to help automate, recurring tasks or provide better experiences for customers or leverage AI to save money on FTEs or increase staffing needs, just for some of those tasks. So I think if you look at what we're seeing as the ways that distributors can differentiate in a complex and challenging market is by, getting ahead of the game on digital. If you're already in the game, get started there. If you're not, start paying attention to AI and, even just learn about ChatGPT prompt writing. It will kind of open up your mind and understand that this can change the game and it can be easy for people to understand. But most importantly, and this is what ISA has really stood for 120 years, is work closely with your manufacturing partners. These people are here to continue to provide value, and they want to continue selling through distribution. And the best way that they can do that is with open lines of communication, open lines of data sharing, and good line of sight. If everybody's working together, you get that multiplier effect.
Speaking of multiplier effects, some argue that the talent deficit that's been facing distributors has resulted in significant damage not just to existing operations, but also to growth. For Bharani Nagarathman, Associate Director of the Master of Industrial Distribution Program at Texas A&M, talent is going to be a big part of how distributors move forward in a challenging environment. Let's go to Bharani for more on that.
Fundamentally, the power balance between employers and employees has shifted. We are at very low unemployment rate, under 4% for the last 26 months. And this is going to continue at least for the next couple of years to as much as a decade long. This is because there are less people are coming into the workforce today than people leaving the workforce. And I think this year and next year is coined as silver tsunami. As much as 10,000 people will be leaving the workforce. Our birth rates has declined and less people are going to come into the workforce. This power balance shift is one of the primary reasons for the talent shortages, and distributors should seek to develop and retain their top talent, as well as recruit new talent. One important idea to note is for distributors to understand the needs, wants, and aspirations of the next generation of talent, which is beyond a salary and benefits. The next generation of talent expects a purpose, training and development, a balance, and engagement from managers and leaders. So distributors should look into using 2024 and the coming years to develop things like career paths, improve job descriptions and even job titles. Think about your traditional titles of customer service rep, inside sales and outside sales. There is a lot of room to improve those job titles. The third area to look at is a frontline manager development. We all know that people join companies, they leave a manager. Frontline managers are critical for talent retention. Turnover is very expensive. If you look at the statistics, the average tenure, the median tenure of all employees in the US is 4.1 years. It's just 2.8 years for employees aged 25 to 34. What that means is, if you want to retain your employees, your managers should be trained and empowered to engage with their employees. Successful retention depends on frontline managers. In addition to training your managers on how to set goals, how to provide a constructive feedback, and create a culture of accountability, it's also important for frontline managers to foster an inclusive culture, build trust, build psychological safety, and transparency. All these things enable the managers to retain their employees.
So that wraps up our video series on 2024 distributor opportunities. We'd like to once again thank our sponsors, BigCommerce and Epicor, for their support of this effort. If you somehow missed part one, you can find it on our website at www.inddist.com/opportunities. I'm Anna Wells, Executive Editor of Industrial Distribution. Thank you for joining us.